Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our episodes with WTF Walk the Floors. I'm Stephanie Ledger of First Rate Hospitality with my co-host here over at Michèle Kline. How's everything going, Michèle?
Fantastic. Super excited about today. Happy International Women's Day. So, Stephanie, I know you're going to walk us through a little bit of the background of what we're here. So, why don't you tell us?
Yes, absolutely. So we are celebrating International Women's Day today, and we have some lovely other women joining us and being able to talk about their WTF moments with women in the workplace. And just also too, let's just dive into talking about some of the history of the International Women's Day. So I pulled out some important dates that we'll be able to review, and it was very interesting of my findings. So basically in 1908, there was about 15,000 women in New York City that were wanting better working hours and pay rates. And that was in 1908, and we're still fighting for that here in 2022. We've definitely come a long way since 1908, but we're still fighting for that. And then it was in 1909 that it was now established as the first Women's Day. And then in 1910 and 1911, finally overseas, they were like, hey, we want to jump on board on that. And that's when it then became known as today with International Women's Day. It wasn't until 1975 that the UN then named it officially and recognized it as International Women's Day. And how this all started, which is crazy with everything that is going on in the world, but for March 8th, of why that was established is because there was women in Russia that were actually starting their protest on March 8th. That was a 4-day strike that they wanted peace, and then also too with bread and voting as well. So it was very interesting with everything that's going on of how now it then in March 8th, 1917, what was going on. So this year, 2022, our theme is Break the Bias, and it's celebrating the women's achievement, raising the awareness against the bias, and then taking action for equality. So that's what we're going to be celebrating in 2022. And so that little brief history is about International Women's Day.
So anyone who knows me knows that I am a huge advocate for diversity, equality, and inclusion, specifically women, specifically in our industry. So here is the thing. Today we celebrate and we commemorate those who came before us since 1908, right? What? 1908? That sounds like so long ago, which was so long ago, and we're still here. And it also is a day where we can think about what we are doing as women and how are we transferring the message and how are we creating that awareness. And then on the other hand, making sure that that awareness is not about a race. It's not really a race. We're not competing against men. We're just trying to make sure that everybody comprehends what being a woman in any industry means, what being a woman and dealing with a household, and perhaps that's your job. Your job is to be with children and raise good children, and then make sure that they're good humans, and eventually you go back or you don't go back to the workforce. Whatever that looks like, we're here to create awareness for and set the stage and the platform for those who come after us. So, like Stephanie said, I'm Michèle Kline. I am president of Kline Hospitality, and I am a huge women advocate. I'm excited to be here today and have Parminder, Batra, and we have Shondra de l'époque. I don't know if I pronounced that properly, but you let us know. And I'd love to go around the room and you ladies go ahead and tell us who you are, what you do, why this day is so important to you. And then we'll jump into our lovely stories for today. So Parminder, take it away.
Great. I wasn't aware of the entire history, so thank you for sharing that. My name is Parminder Batra. I'm the CEO of Track and Protect. And, it amazes me that 114 years later, we're still fighting some of the same issues. But to me, International Women's Day is actually a reminder. We talk about empowering women in our teams. We talk about empowering women around us, sponsoring women. So not just empowering, but sponsoring, I think, and paving the way, as you said, Michèle. So I think International Women's Day really serves as a reminder for everyone that we are part of the same tribe. We have some of the same challenges. We may be in different roles, different companies, different industries, but we're part of the same tribe fundamentally. And our daughters will be part of that same tribe as well, and that we need to come together and highlight the issues that are still there. But at the same time, how much of progress that we've made to come together and how we can celebrate the things that we do together and celebrate the progress that we've had. So to me, I do take it as a reminder of, yes, we're still fighting the same fight, but more to the point that we're part of a bigger tribe.
I love it.
That's beautiful. Shondra, what does this day mean to you? And please share with your audience who you are and what you do.
Thank you. My name is Shondra Deloach-Perea, and I'm the Vice President at IGT, which is International Game Technology, and I manage our field services team, our call center organization, our technology operations team, as well as our training and our repair depots throughout the globe on the gaming and lottery side. And I've been in the gaming industry for almost 24-ish years. I started in tribal gaming initially, and I'm very, very involved with our company and outside of our company in the DE&I initiatives across the board, whether it's being involved in the community and helping mentor or work with youth that are interested in STEAM, as well as just volunteering my time to assist primarily with youth or underrepresented organizations across the United States to the best I can from a time management standpoint. And I'm also very involved with our DE&I at IGT, whether it's part of being part of our Women's Inclusion Network to other diversity and inclusion groups that we have at our company. And what does Women's International Day mean to me? Much like what the history says about elevating your voice and using your voice to drive changes, mine is more about engaging in the younger generation to help them do things that I was unable to do or I wasn't empowered or I didn't have the confidence to do. And I am seeing that with the younger generation now, whether we see it as them using their voices to speak up because of a disruption in business because they feel like they're not heard or the business isn't as flexible as it needs to be, teaching them ways of how to share that information and what to do for basically tools that I didn't have.
Wonderful.
Stephanie, what does this day mean to you?
Well, I'm Stephanie Ledger, Chief Excellence Officer of First Rate Hospitality, and also Vice Chair of our Women's Business Council with the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce. So always an advocate for the women and in the women of business, but also a huge advocate for the diversity. I mean, there's still, now that we're saying, oh, it's the first African-American woman or the first Indian American woman, that are achieving certain things. And it should, it's crazy of so many years, it'll be a certain race and not the diversity that we're seeing for women being able to achieve, or even just women in general being to achieve certain positions as CEOs of major companies that have been around since 1908, and now having those executive position. So with International Women's Day is really seeing that diversity of the international women being able to achieve these high roles in business as well.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Stephanie. So what is your WTF type of moment that you want to share with us in the industry, Stephanie?
Yeah, so my WTF moment was I was in New York City, and by this time I've already had about 12 to 13 years in the luxury market and hospitality. I was going for this huge role as a regional training person, and was told by my male-dominated executive team that I look very good and promising for getting this position. And so I was like, great, this is awesome, so excited. And then they come back with me with the WTF answer of saying, oh, I didn't get it because I didn't have a college degree in hospitality. I was like,
in between parentheses, in hospitality, the industry where whatever everybody looks at is making sure that you're up for the challenge of working 5,000 hours, right?
Yes.
And what does your excitement towards serving other people look like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I really thought that was a cheap shot of saying why I didn't get the position. Then to find out, of course, it was given to a male, and then after about a year later, ended up finding out that they didn't even go to college themselves. So that was really crazy of even to finding that it was a WTF. But you know what? It even pushed me further to then, obviously, when I found that answer, I went home and I Googled fastest way to complete my college education. And that's what I did while working full-time in New York City, still living it up in this New York City life, and then getting my degree. And now here we are about 7 years later, and I'm my own business owner. So, okay, thank you for not giving me the position, because it probably wouldn't have drove me to then even go and get my degree and then become my own CEO.
That's amazing. That is such a great story. But it always amazes me. Do they not think you'll find out?
I know, especially in hospitality. We're always talking, and we see people in positions moving always around or from hotel to hotel. Like it's the telephone game. You're going to be able to find out.
Isn't it amazing that, again, perhaps it's this perception but she won't say anything.
Oh, yep.
Because as women, we're peacekeepers. She won't say anything. And that to me is even more bothersome, but good for you. That's amazing to take that and really turn it around. Yeah. And that's what speaks about how we take those opportunities. That's a great story.
Thank you.
Shondra, what do you think? Do you have an opinion on this story?
I think that the opinion is truly how Stephanie turned it around. Right? Because a lot of people don't know how to turn it around. And that to me is, again, it's obvious that, they say there's two sides of the coin that, you could have went down a spiral and that could have impacted you for the rest of your life in a negative, but you identified areas that you were disheartened about and you said, hey, I'm going to take control of this. And to me, that's the powerful piece of it, that we are put in situations like that probably more often than not. And it really is, how do we react in the situation and what do we do to get ourselves out on the better side? So it's fabulous.
Absolutely. And then also too is just not reacting, by myself. Obviously I'm my own person and this is what I'm going to do, but then also having your support system as well, and talking about it and being open about what's going on, the highs and the lows. I think that's also too, as women, as being the peacekeeper, we tend to take it in and not talk about it to our tribe of our women, that it's always being there and encouraging, but then also too giving us the straight answer and the honest answer as well. So, to making sure that what we are wanting to do, that it would be, you know, the best fit as well. Not always being that cheerleader.
Yeah, and also talking about situations like this one that are so avoidable, and you could have, if you were someone else, you could have perfectly well lost all engagement with your organization, with your career, with everything you had accomplished so far. So speaking about these situations and bringing them to light with other male peers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that they can also be aware when things like this happen, to say, no, I'm raising my hand and it's not going to happen under my watch. Or, you know, how about we explore this other avenue? I remember back in the day, and this was like years ago, I had a female director of HR who told me, you will never grow in this organization because you're a girl. Okay. Right? And just like you, I said, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And I ended up being the first woman in that specific organization to hold a very, very high title. I'm not going to say much more because I'm going to give it away. But how crazy is that? Like Shondra was saying, how many times women just shut down and then you carry that through and now you hold that grouch. So having the courage to deal with it and to turn it around, change your mindset and deal with it the successful way, right? Where you ended up having an amazing career and enjoying what you were doing, and you don't hold a grudge for that particular brand that you were working for at that time. That is so awesome. Shondra, tell us your story.
So mine is at a previous job that I had, and it was predominantly very much like majority of all of us, our whole careers, it's male dominated, but the organization was the group of leaders that I had at the time, and they were all males. And I knew some of them, but not all of them, because we would have this, you know, sometimes bi-monthly meeting or quarterly meeting, and they wouldn't always show up. So by myself, there'd be only one or two other females that would usually attend different positions, the only other females in the business as well. And I was the first one in the meeting. And again, I'm very social. So I'm walking around saying hi to the people I know, introducing myself to the other people. And I started noticing that, you know, every once in a while somebody would, can you grab me a cup of coffee? And again, me not thinking anything of it, you know, I first get the first three and, you know, and I get them all at once. And then I'm being, you know, overly nice because I knew one gentleman, but not the other two. And I'm like, well, do you guys want sugar? Do you want cream? You know, and I'm going over and above that, but that's my normal behavior. And then I realized I turned and there's two more people. And I'm like, well, that's kind of odd. And then I look around and I'm like, you know, saying, what the, in my head going, oh, they think I'm the admin here or something. In my head, that's what I thought. So I sat down, and as soon as I sat down, two other gentlemen, they were just about to ask me, kind of looked and then realized, oh, she must be with us. So again, nothing was said at that point. And the whole time in the meeting, I'm thinking, I think they think I was the admin. Well, first it was an opener and we're all sitting at a table and they're talking. And then the one guy at the end of the table that asked me for the coffee looked at me and said, well, aren't you taking the minutes? Oh. And I looked at him and said, well, can't we all take the minutes, or who's assigned to take the minutes? And at that point, he had that, oh my goodness, and then apologized, obviously, after that. But yeah, so, and I could say another, at lunchtime, a gentleman that showed up late came in and asked me, what are we having for lunch, which was even funnier. But by that time, the whole room knew, and it was very lighthearted at that point. But they got the point without me having to say too much. I'm sure after I left, they were all quite embarrassed, but.
So let's say hospitality takes you places.
Yeah.
That's truly what you were doing. You were being hospitable, and
right.
You know, things got mixed up. Oh my gosh, I am like dying. I was on mute, so I wouldn't be too loud. That is crazy.
Oh, I gotta say, you handled it so much better than I would have. I would have just been like, but mind you, you just stole my story because I have a very similar story, and it's just, but that's
please enlighten us.
Well, I'll share my story, and then you'll see. So my story for today was, as I was thinking about it, and it's hospitality event. So it's in my current position. This was just about 2-3 years ago. and hospitality event. And again, one of those, now I'm at the point where initially people didn't know me, and now I do know people. I walk in, shake hands, and there's hugs and there's kisses. So it's like, going around the room. But I, of course, as everyone knows, I'm always running in by the seat of my pants because there's always so much going on. So I had come in, the networking hour was just about almost done. So it's probably more like 15 minutes left because my team was there. That's the other thing, is my team was there. They were handling the event. I didn't want to take it away from them. So I came in a little towards the end and said hello to the people I needed to. So as I walked past someone, they said, "Oh, who are you with?" And I said, "Oh, I'm with Track and Protect." And they said, "Oh, you must be Tom's assistant." And I said, "I must be. Do you know where he is?" And they're like, "Yeah, he's been here for a while. I'm sure he was looking for you." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure he was." So, it was one of those things. So said hello, whatever, and went by, said hello to a few other people, went and sat next to Tom. And I said, "Tom, I guess I just found out you've been promoted." And he said, "I have?" And I said, "Yes. And I'm your assistant." He went, "What?" And it was just the most funniest thing. And Tom's great, right? Tom's like, no, it never would have even occurred to him to do anything, which is what made it even funnier. And I said, "Yeah, someone out there thinks I'm your assistant." He's like, "Tell me who it is. I need to talk to them." I thought it was hilarious. The table thought it was hilarious. And Tom was just like, "I can't believe someone just said that." So what was great was he made it a point to say, "Hey, that's my boss, not, the other way around." I don't think that was appreciated. To me, the sad part was that the person automatically assumed I was an assistant because I was at the same company, because I'm a female. There's no other reason to think I'm an assistant. I mean, when a guy walks in, why don't you think he's my assistant? But as a female, woman walks in and they did that. So I thought that was my WTF moment. It was funny because it was done in such a way that you must be Parminder's assistant. I said, "I must," or Tom's assistant. I said, "I must." That gotta be right. There wasn't even any leeway that, "Are you his assistant? Maybe you could." No, you must be. And I remember those words, and I think that's so similar to your experience, where people see, I didn't do much. I went right away, and I was just like, "You just got promoted. I'm your assistant." And Tom was just like, no, what is going on? This is not right. And so I don't know how I would have handled that situation. I think I probably would have said something, but those are the moments you realize how deep these biases are, that the comments just come out just on a whim, that they just come out.
Absolutely. And it's just, all it takes is, turning it around and saying, "Oh, what do you do for the company?" And then having them being able to explain. But no, it's that automatic assumption, or just going into it like a robot of saying, "Oh, I'm automatically going to start asking, can I have some coffee?" And not even getting to know the person and understanding, why are they here for the meeting or part of the networking event. Maybe they are the assistant, but they're getting ready to be promoted to a different position, and that's why they're here to now be able to gain more exposure. But just that automatic assumption is still, and it's not just in hospitality. Just think of all the other industries that are male dominated, and then they see that female coming in and just assuming that, okay, they must be here as someone's assistant, and not the one that's the CEO of another company.
I agree. And I think I have to say this, that as part of it is our fault, right? And I'll say that, and there's a reason I'm saying this. I've been in meetings where, because I'm a mom, you could say I'm a nurturer, and part of it's perhaps hospitality. You're like, "Would you like a cup of coffee? You're in my office. I'd like to offer you a water. I'd like to offer you a coffee." And once you start doing that, you find you do it for everyone. And before you know it, I can't run the meeting because I'm going and making the coffee, right? So I'll actually now, if there is an opportunity, I'll have someone else show them where the coffee is so people can make their own coffee. And, we're not falling back into those stereotypes. The other thing, we just actually do a Track and Protect Women's Empowerment call once every quarter. And we talked about this, that how if there's meeting notes to be taken, that somehow we call on another woman as a woman, or even a male will call on a woman. And it's almost, again, that automatic reaction. And how can we do better to take care of these deep biases that we ourselves have as well, that we need to undo, right? So we were talking about, even within our team, how there's sometimes these things that happen, and they happen just on a whim, and how we can do better by preparing for them. And as one of our advisors said, you know, let's plan it out. Let's make sure that it's not a woman taking notes, not because she's not capable, but because we can rotate it regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, or how we can do better by recognizing that we do this, and how can we prepare not to do it when a similar situation arises again. So I think these are all opportunities to learn. Certainly WTF moments when they still happen, where you're like, really? But at a certain point, you're like, okay, now how do we change this? What can we do to basically change that bias?
I was going to say, when you were saying that, that's exactly what I implemented. With being a leader now, you know, back then I was at a different level compared to now. But even back then, when I realized that, yeah, the easiest way is to speak up and say who's going to do it this time and change. And you might have somebody who's very good at doing it and does it better than others. And if they want to raise their hand and say, I want to do it, but still being mindful that somebody else still on the team may want to do it. So taking that opportunity to look at it both ways. And I've also looked at when, you know, going into a meeting where you're not leading the meeting and it happens, you know, speaking about that, saying, oh, this is interesting, you know, and talking about it in a lighthearted way to bring awareness with other male colleagues there, because they'll say things like, yeah, I didn't notice I do that too. Or, you know, Susie on my team always raises her hand, and said, again, she may just be doing it. She feels like she has to. And so, you know, just saying, maybe ask her, you know, and things like that. So it's absolutely about calling it out when it happens, but at the same time, using your voice the right way, because like I said, some people enjoy it more than others.
Yeah, but also having a conversation with someone like Susie, let's say, and just to use the same name, say, hey, Susie, you know, you don't always have to take notes. And I've done that where I've taken people into a leadership meeting and people have assumed this female colleague is an assistant, is to tell her, you're not taking notes. You are here as a participant. You are here. So if someone says anything where it implies that they think you're an admin, make sure you say, I'm here to represent X and Y interests of the team, so that they understand you're an active participant, not there to take notes, not there to like bring coffee or do anything. And I think we have to also do that with our female team members, is remind them that their participation isn't just taking notes, that they're there for their mind and their skills. And that's what we want to learn from and utilize for what we're doing, not their note-taking skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they need that reminder too.
Yeah. All right, Michèle, give it to us on your story.
So you teed me off a little bit ago. You were talking about assumptions, right? And I think that it mainly has been the theme around this conversation, the assumption of this person will handle this, which, by the way, just so everybody knows, my Siri has the voice of a male. So assumptions. I am sitting, a few years ago, I'm sitting in a boardroom and we are waiting for a few other executive members of the team who were coming over. We had this meeting planned, and you know, you're chit-chatting about whatever. And there were 3 gentlemen and me that were at the meeting at that point before the meeting started. And they were discussing how it was a bummer that they were still missing 1% for specific golf tournaments foursome. And, you know, things go by and in and out, and they're talking, and I'm just sitting and and I'm thinking to myself, at what point, because this is we were representing the brand, right? So if it's so hard for them to find the 4th person, at what point do they really like turn to me and ask, do you want to play? Because it's not like they didn't know that I don't play or I play. They knew I play, right? So I'm thinking, I'm waiting. And after a while, I'm like, guys, are you serious? I can beat the two of you together for sure. You, not so sure. But the two of you, at what point do you turn around and ask me if you want me to play with you? Are you just not doing that because I'm the girl? And they were like pale. Oh, yeah. So that was my WTF moment.
Yeah, but same with the assumptions, and then you're having the one to start the conversation and saying, "Hey, guys, let's get together." And other people or other females could have been like, "Okay, well, they don't want me to play in the sandbox, basically," and just move on. But it takes us to going and having that empowerment to now going and facing of saying, hey, no, I'm not the admin, or no, let me play with you, or I'll be the fourth person.
Yeah. I had something to say when you said that, Michèle, and I just came to mind right away. I've been around in those situations, but I know some coworkers.
I figured you would be touched by this story.
Yeah, I've had, and I love to play golf too, but it was, again, because I am more vocal in certain situations like this. So same type of situation. And I asked one of the guys, I'm like, hey, why don't you ever invite any of the women? And he goes, do you want to know the truth? I go, why? Because you guys just talk way too much. And again, and it was, again, a friend of mine, and probably so, he's much more inverted and quiet. And at the end of the day, he was like, well, a lot of times when you bring women, you guys really start talking about deep subjects. And, we're just going to talk about, what club do you want to use? And so I just basically said, yeah, honest to God, I don't want to go with you either because you're boring. So, hey, it's positive on both ends. I would pick somebody else too, but we were lighthearted. But he said, yeah, he goes, sometimes we don't even really talk to each other. Just like, do you need a beer? Which club are you using? So it's kind of cute, but at the same time, I get it. Yeah. And they might not want you to beat them. That could be another piece too.
Because it'll that news will go like wildfire around the office.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, in terms of talking, they do talk, but they talk about nothing at all. I mean, you could say, you've heard this, where guys will hang out and you'll be like, oh, did you know so-and-so's got a new job? And they're like, no, I just hung out with them for 4 hours, but I don't know. It's like, how do you not know? Oh, we didn't talk about it. Okay, you just spent 4 hours with them. Yeah, you don't know that they started a new job. And it amazes me. So they're absolutely right. I mean, but then they also do talk about things that we would never talk about, right? And I mean, but at the same time, is that reason enough? I mean, for me, candidly, I don't play golf. And so if they had come to me, it'd be nice if let's say I was there, Michèle, it would have been nice for someone to turn around and say, hey, do you play, or do you know someone that plays? Right? Mm-hmm. Because I may not play, but I may know a really great player from another team in the company, or you may not know, but Scott on my team is awesome, and I think he would do great, or Kurt, things like that. So even if I don't play, I think you can always recommend someone. But
let me tell you that they knew. My clubs are always in my office because you never know when you're gonna need them. Right?
Okay. That's awesome.
It was really obvious. It was just either you talk too much, which we can cross that out, because as an introvert, I'll just go in there and I'll enjoy, being out there. We're not going to get into a deep conversation, right? So it was clearly that it was a guy's thing. And okay, I get it, but you're representing the brand. You need that fourth person in order to show up. You're going around in circles. Like, at what point do you solve your own problem, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then how many
biases that we talked about, the assumptions and the biases run so deep. So I guess the question is, how do we undeepen them? We create awareness. I mean, they've been made aware for 114 years. Yeah. How do we continue to dig that up and get them out from being so deep in?
Mm-hmm.
I think speaking up in a good way, right? Like, can I have coffee? Like, Shondra, your story, I would have probably said, absolutely. Do you want me to drink it too? Like, I'll drink it for you. Right. But that would have been the best delivery of the message. But I think that training ourselves to create awareness in a professional way and in a sweet way, in a sense, I think that is a tool right there.
Yeah. And talking about it, not just holding it in, of saying, okay, I'm going to go do it. And, now I'm not going to tell, my girlfriends or any of my other colleagues about what just happened. And then the next day or the next week, the meeting's coming and it's just that hamster wheel. But if we're not talking about it and then getting that engagement too from our other colleagues and peers of being like, no, go in there and go be a badass woman and tell them that they can go and get their coffee themselves in a nice, light-hearted way. But, just having that conversations and not holding it in is the first step. And then going from there.
And that makes total sense.
Yeah. And also too, how many, the other assumption is how we all hear it, okay, there's so much business that gets done on the golf course, so much negotiation. And then they also too then say, oh, on the, females, they do all of their business to getting done while getting like their hair done or their nails done. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. That's not happening. I like to go by myself and just get it done and over with because it's like pulling teeth of trying to sit there that long. But those assumptions of how we do business versus how gentlemen do business and all of those assumptions, is not right either.
But I have a question. How are they doing business if they're not talking? These conversations. So, but we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to throw that in. It was just, I was getting a little confused.
Oh, well, thank you so much, ladies. This has been great of discussing these stories on International Women's Day. And hopefully, even next year on 2023, of seeing how much that women have achieved in the year, for the year, and, going through those, breaking the barriers with the bias, and motivating each other. As women, and the empowerment as well with each other.
Yes, thank you, ladies, so much for being here and enlightening us with your WTF type of situations. I'm sure you have way more stories that you can share with us. And thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, everyone out there. Thanks, Stephanie. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, and then if Shondra and Parminder, if you want to just say where our audience could be able to reach out to you, that would be great.
Yes, I am Shondra Deloach-Perea, and I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I think Snapchat. And not TikTok yet, but yeah. Thank you all, and break the bias.
Yes.
And I'm Parminder. You can reach me at on LinkedIn, and please feel free to reach out. And I'm not on any of the other social media, so Shondra, you're there for that. I am not there except for LinkedIn. And absolutely, let's break the bias.
Perfect. Well, wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.